Hey there, Earthlings. Thanks for tuning in to the Bardo Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Bardo, where we talk about health, happiness, and anything else that's important to us humans. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast by visiting thebardo.com or just click the little subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast. And be sure to check out my Instagram at thebardo for all the latest videos and content. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode.
You're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Well, hey there, friends. It has been quite some time since I've done a podcast in this little studio. Very happy to be here, and I just kind of wanted to do a follow-up episode. My last episode, number 134, was in the hospital, and if you haven't listened to that, go check that out. So I had a little bit of a scare, but I'll let you listen to that full episode to learn about it. But I wanted to kind of give you an update on that, and then just want to talk about a couple other things. But before we get into today's episode and the results that I got back, all that jazz, I do want to thank our friends over at Superfat. I couldn't thank you enough for those of you that pick up Superfat. Superfat has been with me from the get-go, and the good news is with Superfat, you can actually go to superfat.com, and they even partnered up with perfectketo.com, so I recommend you check that out. But you can use my code. I'm working on my code to get used everywhere. Perfect Keto and superfat.com. But for now, visit superfat.com, check out everything they got. You can use the code Berardo10. You'll get 10% off your entire order. And Superfat just has tons of great products. Keto cookie bites, of course, their nut butters. You see me intake those like on a weekly basis. I love those things. So many different flavors, and it's good, healthy fats. Peanut butter's great. It tastes good, but like a lot of good things that taste good, it's probably not that good for you. Good news with Superfat is it has all the nut butters that are actually good for you. So those healthy fats that you want, macadamia nuts, almonds, sunflower, all that type of stuff, all those nut butters are really great for you. And of course, they're packed full of protein and nutrients and good healthy fats. So check out superfat.com for all their baking goods, their cookie bites, and of course, their nut butters. Use the code Berardo10 to get 10% off your entire purchase. I just kind of wanted to mention real quick, I want to talk about the results that got back because, I did an episode from the hospital, and then, of course, I figured I'd do a follow-up episode for those of you that are curious of the results. So it was a little bit of a scare. I ended up going to the hospital for some bad chest pain, and I was getting a fever like every day, 102 degree fever. And, at first I thought it was the Rona, but I ended up getting tested multiple times, the rapid test as well as the more accurate one, which takes like 3 to 5 days. And both came back negative. Also came back negative with strep and the flu. So I was very curious. I ended up going to urgent care because I don't have a primary care physician right now. I'm still looking for one in my new city that I moved to. But I ended up going to urgent care, and they diagnosed me with pneumonia after doing some x-rays. So they gave me some antibiotics for a week. And turns out that did not work. It actually got worse. I started feeling really, really, really bad, even after about a week of antibiotics. So I went back to urgent care, and they're like, well, let's do x-rays again. Let's see what's going on. And then turns out the pneumonia was in my lungs, and that got bigger. So they said, oh, fuck, something's going on here. We're going to take you to the ER right away. So I immediately went to the ER, and I was in the hospital for almost a week. So that's where I did the podcast, mainly because, I was a little scared. And, you can't get overnight visitors. You can only get visitors for a portion of the day because of the Rona. So the wife and, my parents came and visited, which was good. Mainly my dad and mom wanted to come, but I told them not to because it was too expensive for travel out of state. And this was, the week of Christmas, right? So I mainly wanted to do a podcast because it was just kind of my way to, I don't know what it was. I was mainly bored, and I haven't done a podcast in a couple weeks at that point, and I just felt like shit. And I was supposed to do a biopsy like the next day, And I was like, I kind of want to do a podcast because, it's a little terrifying about what they find, and they go in there and check it out, and then I'll have to get the news, and, I kind of wanted to vent and talk about it. And, of course, I vented to the wife and my dad and all that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know, for some reason, me just talking to myself on this platform, even though there's hundreds of people that listen to each episode, which I appreciate, and I love you guys for it. But it kind of seems like it was just me, almost like when you journal. Sometimes you just journal just for you to kind of release emotions and things like that. And if you don't journal, it's a really good practice. But this is my way of kind of journaling. So I ended up doing it. The podcast from the hospital, just from my laptop, so the quality was shit. So sorry if you if you listen to that and it was a little bit of a not the best quality as maybe this episode is. But turns out I did the biopsy the next day, and you might not have heard if you don't follow me on Instagram, but the biopsy ended up coming back negative for cancer because I did have a growth in my lung. So that was negative for cancer, which is very good news. I was very happy with that. And the growth it didn't disappear. Obviously I'm out of the hospital now. It's still there. I'm on different antibiotics. I feel better, which is good. The cough is still absolutely brutal, as to be expected. The doctor said, until I get this growth removed or looked at or, whatever, it still could be a tumor. But it might not be cancerous. Sometimes tumors are not cancerous. They're growths in parts of your body. Obviously, they're not good. You want to get them removed. And there's other ways to do it. So thank goodness I got discharged a couple days before Christmas. So that was awesome. And they told me to follow up with the surgeon, obviously after the holiday, because there's not a whole lot they could do Christmas weekend from a surgical standpoint. So before we even get into Christmas, unfortunately that day that I got discharged, I wake up in the morning and I FaceTime my wife like I did every morning when I was at the hospital. And turns out her father passed away. So that was a kick in the nuts, especially obviously for her and for her family. And, just kind of the worst time, right? Because obviously I'm in the hospital. There's not a whole lot I can do. And I couldn't be there for her like I wanted to be because I was still at the hospital. Like they wouldn't let me leave because you got to get doctor's approval and all that shit. So, of course I told all the doctors that. I'm like, listen, man, I don't need doctor approval. I know my rights. I could leave. I'll just have to sign something saying that you don't want me to leave and you don't think I should leave, but I'm leaving anyway against the advice of the doctors. And I'm like, I'll sign that paperwork, get that paperwork going because I got to get out of here. And, they ended up a couple hours later doing it. And of course I felt like complete ass, but I wanted to be there for my wife, and I knew there was nothing they could do at the hospital anyway until I hear back from the surgeon after Christmas. So I'm like, I'm not going to stay in the hospital during Christmas, right? I mean, the surgery is going to be out of the hospital anyway. So I'm like, I need to leave anyway. So I might as well just get out and take these antibiotics home and just rest up. So anyway, ended up doing that. Got checked out. My dad picked me up because my wife, obviously, I didn't want her to drive. And thank goodness, two of her friends, shout out Tanya and Nicole, two of her friends came by the house, drove from Orlando, hour and a half. The day it happened to be with Brenda because I couldn't be there. So it was just kind of what a shitty week. And then of course, a horrible day. So, Frank, my father-in-law, what a good dude. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky that, we were able to have him walk Brenda down the aisle when we got married. That was huge. I would have loved for him to see, our kids, but, I know he will. He'll be here in good spirits. And, man, he had a great life. He was, close to in his 90s. We don't know his exact date because I guess he lied a few times on his birth certificate or something. So no one really knows, but he had a good long life. And, obviously he had Brenda when he was a little bit older. I think when he was in his close to his 60s. So, that's why he was a little bit older. But he had a good long life. Just a good dude overall. But, Brenda's been dealing with a lot, especially with me. And I'm finally like, if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm like at an 80%, so I just couldn't be there for a few days I got back. And then, of course, Christmas, I started feeling a little bit better, but, just like everything else, once you think things are starting to get good, it kind of like slaps you in the face. And, as all this is happening and I'm still recovering from this and waiting to hear back from the doctor, which I still haven't, by the way. Here we are New Year's Eve, and I haven't heard anything from the surgeon. I guess we're all on fucking vacation. So that part kind of blows. But after all this is happening, all this is going on, and then to top it off, I have a crazy Crohn's attack. Probably, I'm assuming because of all the stress and, me being in the hospital and, my Crohn's typically is caused not from eating so much because I've got that under control, but mainly because of stress or getting overworked. Sometimes my body can't handle certain things, and it just freaks out and shuts down, and my stomach gets massively bloated, and obviously I can't go to the bathroom, and I curl over like a fucking baby. It's brutal pain. So I got that on top of my cough and on top of my lungs hurting, and I couldn't sleep. And I was like, fuck. And then, of course, Frank, it's like, this is the worst, right? And I feel so bad for Brenda because she's dealing with this more than anybody, right? Because she's trying to take care of me, and then she's also grieving, and, she's got her family she's dealing with, and I feel so bad because I can't do anything because I'm like, pointless. because I can't do anything. I mean, I'm like curled up in a ball. I'm in massive amounts of pain. I'm coughing like crazy. I'm on all these antibiotics, which antibiotics are horrible for your stomach, which makes my attacks even worse. But, I got to take it if I want to get rid of this growth. So it's been crazy. Thank goodness Christmas was good because, we had the Pops and his wife and her kids, they came over and, we just kind of hung out and did the basic Christmas stuff and took some pictures and had some fun and, ate some food, and it was good. So that was fun. And then, if you didn't see on Instagram, I did buy the day I got back from the hospital. Of course, I was with my wife the whole day. And then the next day I surprised her by picking up a puppy. So I got her a puppy the next day. And I was super weak and I didn't really want to do it, but obviously with everything that happened, I feel like it was important that I got it. I always kind of wanted to get her a puppy. That was like one of my main things I wanted to do in 2022 for her. But when I was in the hospital, I was like, she needs this. She needs this. So I started looking, and thank goodness my mother had the idea of giving it to her for Christmas. So my mom, as a Christmas gift, helped me purchase little Ollie. It's short for Oliver. So we did that. So overall, it was the best Christmas that we could have made it, but it would probably go down as one of the worst holidays ever. And then, of course, I'm on antibiotics now. So for New Year's Eve, it's not going to be very eventful because I can't drink. But, I'm going on like 4 weeks of not drinking, and it's not too bad. I'm kind of dealing with it. I'm not mad at it. I might go a couple months, see how long I can go without drinking. But, so the good news is, again, non-cancerous growth. Bad news, though, unfortunately, is it looks like I'm going to have to get this thing taken out because the antibiotics aren't minimalizing it. So, again, just kind of waiting for the doc to see what next steps are. Hopefully I heard something back after the new year. But they assured me it wasn't life-threatening as of now. It's just, it might be a little harder to breathe, kind of like almost you get I used to have asthma as a kid, so it's kind of like that where, I'm only using a portion of my lung because this growth is blocking my airways. So they assured me, I should be fine, and it's not life threatening right now, but it needs to be removed for sure. So they'll probably have to remove either a chunk of my lung or just the actual growth, depending on how big it is by the time I look at it. So it could always be worse, right? Um, and that's the thing. I kind of wanted to get across is we have been challenged, the wife and I in particular, these last few weeks. Um, to put in perspective, again for me, I haven't felt good in almost 5 weeks. Like I've had a fever almost every single day for 5 weeks, and it's been hard for me to breathe for 5 weeks. Like it has put things massively in perspective for me because not necessarily because that's. I mean, it might sound bad, but I mean it is bad, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's bad, but there's a lot more shittier things out there than what I'm dealing with. Some people don't have. Some people only have one lung. Some people are quadriplegics. Don't have arms, don't have legs. There is shittier things out there than what I'm dealing with, and I just think it when you kind of run into these type of situations and like these situations where you get punched in the face a bunch and you almost feel like you don't want to get up. And I know, the wife in particular is maybe fighting with this a little bit, but it's important that you take a step back and you look at all that and you soak it in and you really appreciate that pain and that moment that is making things so shitty. And you be in the moment and you know that this is a part of life. And if you can accept that, whether it's, grief or sickness or illness or whatever you're dealing with, but that's kind of what I did is I soaked this up and I was like, okay, this is part of my life now. This is what I'm going to have to deal with. Right. The same thing I did when I was diagnosed with Crohn's. It took me a while to kind of accept the fact that this is happening. But eventually I'm like, all right, this is just part of my life now. I just have to adapt. And I have to say to myself, it's not that bad. Things could be a lot worse. There is people out there that don't have clean drinking water. There's people out there that can't afford shoes. There's people out there that are, literally fighting every single day to not get their head chopped off by a militia power, right? A military force. So things could be worse. It's not that bad. And I think the faster we accept that and the faster we realize that we're all in this thing together and we all got problems that we're dealing with. And the only way we're going to get through these problems is if we do it together. And surround yourself with people that want to actually help and want to be there for you. And on that note, again, I just want to say thank you for all the people that did reach out and sent me DMs and messages. And, we had a couple friends send Brenda flowers. And, oh, man, you guys are just no words. Just thank you for everything. It really helped, especially with, everything that I was going through and then, all that pound on top. It was rough. But you guys helped a lot. So I just want to throw out this episode and say thank you to everybody. Make sure, if you haven't already, check me out on Instagram because we did create an Instagram for our new puppy. And that I think that'll put a smile on everyone's face because it definitely has helped Brendan and myself to stay positive. And, of course, I'm going to get back into working out. And I haven't done that in, almost 4 weeks since I've been really sick. I haven't worked out. I'm going to start doing some meditation and some yoga here in the next few days once I feel a little bit better. But I'm going to get back to that. But, as we come closer to 2022, we're going to have to rethink some things, aren't we, folks? There's been a lot that's going on. So I think we just got to take a step back, man, and really think about like what's important, all right? Because we got to cherish every moment. It's fucking crazy. You only get one life, right? You hear that all the time. But I think we use it in the sense of like, you only get one life, so YOLO, right? You only get one life, so party like crazy and spend a bunch of money and do this and do that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet. I think, you only have one life, so, spend it with the people that are the most important to you and only do that because that's really all that's important, right? Denzel Washington has a great quote. I think it was in an interview. I forget which interview, but he said, or maybe he was accepting an Oscar or something. And he goes, we're all going to end up in a Hertz. But you know what you'll never see follow a Hertz is a U-Haul truck. Because you don't get to take any of the shit with you. It's just going to be you in the ground. So don't worry about all the other bullshit. Just worry about living your life with the people that you love and spend it wisely and act accordingly. And I know that's one thing that we're really doing and that we're focusing on. So, I hope when you guys go into 2022, you focus on the important stuff and not worry about this bullshit noise that we hear all over, social media and media in general. But just focus on you, man. Focus on you and your family and your future. I think that's key. But thanks for listening, guys. And again, thanks for all the support. Next episode, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions and some tips and stuff. So stay tuned for that. That is coming out. Again, thanks to our sponsors over at Superfat. Visit superfat.com. Use the code Berardo10. You're going to get 10% off your entire order. Also, don't forget to visit theberardo.com/shop, where you'll see some cool swag that I made for Christmas. And you can check all that out at theberardo.com/shop. So thanks so much, guys. We will talk to you soon. Peace.